Have you ever found yourself scrolling on your phone during a study session, or watching YouTube instead of working towards goals that you've set for yourself? This habit, this bad habit, isn't simply a lack of willpower or a lack of motivation. It's something which is naturally wired into our brains. Our brains crave this instant reward, and this addiction to instant gratification can be very damaging and keep us from achieving long-term goals that we've set for ourselves. So in this video, I'm going to talk a bit about why we're drawn to these instant rewards, how it can sabotage us from achieving our long-term goals, and more importantly, different strategies to build long-lasting discipline. Our brains are wired to crave rewards because of dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. And this is released, for example, when we get a reward, such as, checking social media, watching TV, things like that. And according to a study published in Nature, dopamine can even be released in anticipation to a reward, which is why sometimes you might find yourself simply reaching for your phone when you're thinking about a certain notification or a certain thing you want to check on social media or YouTube. And these small bursts of dopamine make us feel good temporarily, creating a cycle of craving and reward. And so, one of these kind of small rewards that I keep talking about is checking your phone. And the reason I, will keep using that as an example in this video is because it's one of the biggest addictions in today's society, and it's one of the most prevalent forms of immediate gratification. You can, I'm sure you can think of many times in the past week, even probably today, where you've been checking your phone, you've been on social media, scrolling through TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is, instead of doing the work that you need to do. And the reason, like I said, is because it releases this dopamine, this feel-good neurotransmitter that makes you have these small bursts of happiness. You feel content, you feel good, but what is the cost? What is the sacrifice? The sacrifice is that you are, you're not working towards your long-term goals, you're not working towards things which you said you would achieve, and therefore you are sacrificing long-term delayed gratification. And normally the delayed gratification that you are sacrificing is going to be in the form of goals that you've set for yourself and things that would make you much happier in the long run and much more content. There was a study conducted by the American Psychological Association, and they found that 70% of millennials and Gen Z checked their phone within the first 5 minutes of waking up. But this reliance on quick dopamine has everlasting effects. Like I've said, you sacrifice your long-term goals, you lose concentration, overall your mental health will suffer, and so therefore it's imperative that we try and avoid it where we can. And this video isn't anti-technology or anything like that. I'm all for technology. I think it has incredible real-world applications, but I'm using it as an example because it's so prevalent. And there are other forms of kind of this quick dopamine, but phones are the most relatable and easy one to talk about. And we're talking about the problem of when it gets in the way of you chasing your long-term goals. So let's talk briefly about how instant gratification actually directly impacts your long-term goals. So the first one is that choosing instant gratification leads to procrastination. For example, imagine you need to study, but instead you're just mindlessly scrolling on TikTok or Instagram, you're watching TV, whatever it may be. And that short-term dopamine that's being released is making you feel good, but in the end, all you're doing is procrastinating. You're putting off the work which needs to be done. Every time we choose these short-term rewards over long-term goals, it reinforces this habit, making it harder to concentrate, harder to focus if we do actually then try to, sit down and study, sit down and get the work done. The next thing is it directly impacts our motivation. Psychologists have found that the more we indulge in instant gratification, the more our motivation dips for long-term goals. It's like we're training our brains to value more frequent short-term rewards as opposed to, chasing our goals and trying to achieve the things we've set for ourselves. And because we're reinforcing this feeling of, instant gratification, it makes delayed gratification, which is where, if I put in the work now, I'll get the outcome later on. It makes those long-term goals feel unattainable, and it makes, therefore, our motivation severely decrease. And there was a Harvard study that actually concluded that the people who were able to delay gratification had, better career success, they had healthier lives, and they had greater satisfaction for life. So now that we've talked about why we are attracted to, instant gratification, what actually instant gratification is, and how it can, affect us, and how it can hinder us from chasing our goals, decrease our motivation, and leave us less content. It's now time to talk about how we can build, lasting discipline. So the first thing I want to talk about is the 10-minute rule. So the next time you feel the urge to switch tasks or check your phone or whatever it may be, try the 10-minute rule. And this is where you commit to working on your current task for at least 10 more minutes. Now the reason behind this rule is because studies have shown that in 80% of cases, the urge and the desire to procrastinate and indulge in these forms of instant gratification fades after around 10 minutes. And therefore, if you power through for 10 more minutes and focus on the work, you're more likely to stay with it and continue working for even more time. So the next time you feel like you want to put down the work and just check your phone, even if you say, I'm just going to check my phone for 5 minutes, everybody knows it's never just 5 minutes. So that's why just focus on your work for 10 more minutes, and you will hopefully find that you're able to then just keep on going, and that want to go on your phone will disappear. Next thing I would say is, if you want to get work done, go somewhere that is a working environment. For example, if you want to study, I would say go to the library. One of the big reasons for that is because everyone around you is studying, because the environment is filled with people who are, getting work done. It's much easier to not get distracted, not procrastinate, but simply focus on the work at hand. And I found that with myself as well. If I study in my room, I've noticed that I'm much more likely to take breaks, I'm much more likely to go on my phone, I'm much more likely to go on my laptop, whatever it may be. When I go to the library, because it's silent, everyone around me is studying, everyone is focused on the work at hand, it just creates that working environment where it's much more easier to focus, concentrate, and really just get the work done. And so that's why a working environment is really crucial in my opinion. The next thing is to set clear, measurable goals. If you break down a large task into your smaller, specific goals, you'll find it's much easier to get the work done without getting distracted. Research from the Dominican University found that people who set specific, measurable goals are 33% more likely to stay with it than people who set vague goals. This means that clearly defining your intentions of what work you're going to do and what you're going to study can keep you on track and reduce the temptation to give in to instant gratification. Because every time you hit one of these smaller goals, these smaller, more attainable goals, you're going to be getting your own sense of reward from that. And therefore you'll be more motivated to continue on studying, so that then you can end up hitting the big goal which you've set for yourself. And when we set, big, vague goals like study more or get in better shape, it's hard to see progress, and therefore it makes the end goal seem distant and unattainable. As a result, we fall into the trap of giving in to instant forms of gratification because we do not see ourselves getting any rewards from the main goal that we wanted to achieve. But if we break down these goals into smaller, attainable, more realistic goals, then every time we achieve one of them, we not only see progress, see ourselves, building the bigger picture for obtaining that end term, for that long-term goal, but we also get a small reward and a sense of that sense of achievement, that I'm on track to achieve my goal. And this sense of accomplishment, it encourages you to keep on going and stick with it until you finally achieve the long-term goal that you had in mind. Last thing I want to talk about is the 1% rule. The 1% rule dictates that you do not need to make drastic changes if you want to see a change in the way you're doing something or achieve a long-term goal. You just need to become 1% better every single day. And building discipline and breaking bad habits doesn't happen overnight. So that's why you have to start with small, manageable steps in order to, increase your discipline and break down those bad habits. So let's say, for example, the form of instant gratification that you are struggling to get away from the most is checking social media, going on your phone, and you find it's really hindering you when you're trying to study or when you're trying to be productive. Then the best way isn't to simply just cut off all social media, delete everything, because that will not work. The best way is to slowly reduce it. So set a limit on your screen time, for example. Let's say you're using you're using social media for 2-3 hours every day and you want to reduce it. Maybe set a limit of 1 hour. And once you've stuck with that, then reduce it more if you want to. And by making these changes slowly, it will make it so much easier to stick with it. And there have been multiple studies that have shown that small improvements over time, they compound and they make building discipline feel a lot more doable. So it was a slightly shorter video today. Those are the main things that I wanted to talk about. I hope it has been useful and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you have, please like the video, subscribe, and share it around. I hope it's been useful. So that's all from me. Take care and goodbye. I will see you in the next video, hopefully next week. Goodbye.